If she's also doing no contact, don't panic, don't chase. Stay grounded, hold your silence, and focus on building yourself. The one who breaks first loses control. Use this space to grow stronger, wiser, and more confident. Patience creates power. Stay disciplined, and you'll come out unshaken. No contact is one of the most powerful tools you can use in any relationship dynamic, yet it is the one most people fail to truly understand. The power of no contact doesn't lie in silence alone, but in what that silence represents. It is not about trying to manipulate, control, or punish the other person. It's about reclaiming your own energy and resetting the balance of power within yourself. When you step back and stop engaging, you are making a statement without saying a single word. I value myself enough not to beg for attention or force what isn't being freely given. That's the true strength behind it. Most people fear silence because they equate it with loss. They think that if the other person isn't hearing from them, they'll be forgotten or replaced. But in reality, the opposite often happens. Silence creates space, and space creates curiosity. It makes the other person think, why are they not chasing? Why are they so calm? Have they moved on? This mystery works in your favor, but only if you stay disciplined enough not to break it. Every time you resist the urge to reach out, you're teaching yourself emotional control, and nothing is more attractive or powerful than someone who isn't a slave to their impulses. No contact is also about healing and clarity. When you're constantly in communication, your emotions are clouded by their reactions, words, and actions. But when you go silent, you're giving yourself the room to breathe, reflect, and see things for what they really are. You stop reacting to what they're doing, and instead you start focusing on what you need. You begin to rebuild your self-worth and realize that your happiness should never depend on another person's validation. This shift is what transforms no contact from a tactic into a lifestyle of strength. At the same time, no contact flips the energy dynamic. If someone took you for granted, your absence forces them to feel your value. It makes them question the assumptions they had about your availability and your need for them. Silence is louder than any argument because it shows you don't need to explain, justify, or convince. It shows you're at peace with walking away if you're not valued, and that's where your true leverage lies. Of course, the hardest part of no contact is the discipline it requires. There will be moments when you want to check in, when you want to break the silence because the discomfort feels unbearable. But that's exactly where the power lies, in your ability to hold the line. Every day you stick to it, you grow stronger, you build patience, and you develop resilience. The one who can remain calm and consistent in silence always ends up in control because they show they're not afraid of loss. They're not desperate, they're self-sufficient. That is the ultimate power of no contact. Obsession is one of the most destructive forces in any relationship, and it often disguises itself as care or love. When your mind is consumed with constant thoughts of someone, checking your phone for their messages, replaying their words, or imagining scenarios of reconciliation, you're not loving them, you're enslaving yourself to them. Detachment from obsession is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about breaking free from the prison of constant emotional dependence. The truth is, the more obsessed you are with someone, the less power you have over your own life. You begin to orbit around their actions, and everything you do is a reaction to them. That is not strength. That is surrendering your control. When you detach, you're not saying they don't matter to you. You're simply reclaiming your balance and refusing to let their presence or their absence dictate your state of mind. Obsession thrives in silence when your energy is scattered, but detachment thrives when your focus shifts inward. Instead of giving all your attention to them, you start channeling it back into yourself. You invest in your health, your growth, your purpose, and your peace. That shift is where you begin to find freedom because now you are no longer waiting on their actions to validate your worth. The danger of obsession is that it magnifies everything. A delayed reply feels like rejection, silence feels like abandonment, and distance feels like betrayal. But in reality, these are just normal human behaviors and choices. When you're obsessed, you interpret everything through the lens of fear and loss, which only deepens your insecurity. Detachment allows you to step back and see things clearly. You stop chasing explanations for every move they make and start realizing that not everything is about you. People act according to their own needs, emotions, and circumstances, and your peace cannot depend on decoding their every action. Detachment is also a form of self-respect. When you're obsessed, you're putting yourself beneath someone else, as if your entire life's meaning comes from their acknowledgement. But when you detach, you declare to yourself that you are enough on your own. You don't need someone else's presence to define your happiness. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You love without losing yourself. You give without begging for return. And you let things flow without forcing them. The process of detachment is not easy because obsession feels addictive. It gives temporary highs followed by painful lows. But every time you resist the urge to spiral into obsessive thinking, you're strengthening your emotional muscles. Slowly, the grip loosens. The constant mental chatter quiets down, and you begin to feel lighter, calmer, and more in control. That's the beauty of detachment. You're not losing someone, you're regaining yourself. And when you're no longer obsessed, you finally step into a place of strength where you can choose, not beg, and where your happiness is no longer at the mercy of another person's attention. When you stop pouring all of your energy into someone else and begin redirecting it toward yourself, that is when transformation truly begins. Too often, people get stuck waiting, overanalyzing, and obsessing about what another person is doing instead of realizing that the most powerful response is self-growth. The truth is, you cannot control how someone feels, what they choose, or whether they return to you. But what you can control is how you evolve in the meantime. That shift of focus is where your real power lies. Self-growth is about reclaiming all the time, energy, and attention you've been giving away and using it to elevate every area of your life. Instead of spending hours checking social media or replaying conversations in your mind, you use that time to build yourself into a stronger, wiser, and more grounded individual. This can mean developing new skills, improving your health, deepening your mindset, or pursuing passions you once neglected. Every ounce of effort you invest in yourself not only distracts you from the pain, but also rebuilds your confidence piece by piece. Growth requires discipline. It's easy to spiral into waiting and worrying, but growth demands that you set goals and stay consistent. You start asking yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? What habits do I need to build? What weaknesses can I turn into strengths? And then you act on those answers. The beauty of this process is that every step forward creates momentum. The more progress you see, the less desperate you feel for external validation because your fulfillment now comes from within. Another important part of self-growth is emotional maturity. Instead of reacting impulsively or letting your emotions control you, you begin to master them. You learn patience, self-control, and resilience. This doesn't just make you stronger for this situation, it prepares you for every challenge you'll face in the future. Emotional growth is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. By focusing on yourself, you're not only healing from the current situation, you're also training yourself for life. What many fail to see is that self-growth also changes how others perceive you. When you glow differently, when you're healthier, more confident, and more focused, it becomes impossible to ignore. You no longer come across as someone waiting or chasing. You radiate the energy of someone who is moving forward regardless. That shift is magnetic. People are drawn to strength, discipline, and purpose, and nothing communicates that better than visible growth. Shifting focus to self-growth is about reclaiming control. It's the decision to stop giving away your peace and start investing in yourself. You stop waiting for change outside of you and become the change within you. And while this journey may feel lonely at first, over time it becomes the most empowering path you could ever take. Because no matter what happens with anyone else, you come out stronger, wiser, and unshakable. Energy is one of the most valuable currencies you have, yet most people spend it carelessly. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you indulge in, every action you take, it all costs energy. When you give it away recklessly, especially to situations or people who don't reciprocate, you're draining yourself without any return. Controlling your energy means becoming intentional about where you place your focus and attention. It means recognizing that not everyone and not everything deserves access to you. When you're emotionally entangled, it's easy to scatter your energy. You overthink, you replay conversations, you stalk social media, you chase answers. Each of these actions may seem small, but together they leave you feeling exhausted, empty, and powerless. This is why control becomes essential. Instead of letting your energy leak into places that weaken you, you learn to redirect it toward things that strengthen you. That doesn't just protect your peace, it rebuilds your power. Controlling your energy starts with awareness. You have to notice when your thoughts are spiraling, when your emotions are taking over, and when your actions are fueled by desperation rather than clarity. Once you catch yourself, you make a conscious choice. Am I going to keep giving this situation my power, or am I going to take it back? That choice, made consistently, is what begins to shift your reality. You stop reacting to every little trigger, and instead you learn to respond with intention. Another layer of energy control is boundaries. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. When you set limits on who gets your time, your attention, and your emotions, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. You stop answering every call, entertaining every message, or engaging in every argument. Silence becomes a tool, not out of spite, but out of wisdom. You're no longer available for drama, manipulation, or anything that drains your spirit. This alone transforms the way others see you, because controlled energy communicates self-respect. Equally important is where you choose to invest your energy once you've stopped wasting it. Growth, creativity, health, and purpose are powerful outlets that multiply your energy rather than deplete it. When you channel your focus into improving yourself, you notice that your confidence grows, your presence becomes stronger, and your mind feels clearer. People can sense when you're in control of your energy because you move differently, you're grounded, composed, and difficult to shake. The real strength in controlling your energy lies in consistency. Anyone can hold back for a day or two, but the discipline to sustain it is what creates lasting change. Every time you resist giving in to impulse, whether that's reaching out, arguing, or chasing, you reinforce your inner strength. Slowly, you shift from being reactive to being in command of yourself. And when you master your own energy, you stop being controlled by external circumstances. You become untouchable because your power is no longer scattered. It's centered within you. And that's where true control begins. Patience is one of the rarest qualities in today's world, yet it is the very foundation of strength. Most people want instant results, quick answers, and immediate gratification. They can't tolerate waiting because waiting feels like losing. But the truth is, patience is not weakness, it is control. It is the ability to sit in discomfort without breaking, to endure silence without panicking, and to wait without chasing. That kind of discipline separates the strong from the desperate. When you are patient, you show that you are not a slave to your emotions or impulses. You may feel the urge to reach out, to demand answers, or to force clarity, but you choose restraint. That restraint is power because it communicates that you are not controlled by the situation. You are controlled by yourself. People underestimate how powerful patience looks from the outside. It shows stability, calmness, and self-respect, while impatience exposes insecurity and fear. Patience also allows you to see the bigger picture. When you're rushing, you're reacting to the present moment without considering long-term consequences. But when you're patient, you give yourself time to observe, to think clearly, and to make decisions from a place of wisdom rather than desperation. You stop being driven by fear of loss, and instead, you move with the confidence that what is meant for you will come in its time. That calm certainty is far more attractive than frantic action. Another reason patience is strength is because it creates contrast. Silence and stillness make people curious. When you don't react immediately, when you don't rush to fill the gaps, you stand out. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability creates value. Others begin to wonder what's going on with you, why you're not chasing, why you're so composed. That curiosity shifts the energy in your favor, but only if you can hold your ground long enough. On a deeper level, patience is also about trusting yourself. It's about knowing that you can withstand discomfort without breaking down. Every moment you practice patience, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your urges. You build emotional resilience and mental toughness. Over time, waiting becomes less about the outcome and more about the discipline it develops within you. And when you have mastered patience, you are no longer afraid of silence, distance, or uncertainty because you know you can handle them. The strongest people are not the ones who fight hardest in the moment, but the ones who can endure quietly without losing their center. Patience shows that you have the confidence to let things unfold naturally without forcing them. It shows that you're not desperate, that you understand timing, and that you value yourself enough to wait for what's right instead of chasing what's uncertain. That calm endurance is rare, and it is exactly what makes patience one of the purest forms of strength. Mystery and value go hand in hand, and together they create an energy that naturally draws others in. When everything about you is predictable, when you're always available, always explaining, always chasing, there's no intrigue left. People lose curiosity because they already know what to expect. But when you hold back, when you don't reveal every detail of your life, when you're not always the first to reach out, you create a sense of mystery. And mystery is powerful because what is unknown is always more attractive than what is fully exposed. Creating mystery doesn't mean playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about letting silence speak for you and allowing others to wonder about your world. It's about having a life so full of purpose, growth, and depth that people feel curious about what you're doing when you're not around. That curiosity works in your favor because it forces others to think about you even in your absence. The less you reveal, the more they want to know. The less you chase, the more they notice your absence. This is how silence becomes louder than words. Value is the second part of this equation. Mystery without value is empty. It may grab attention for a moment, but it won't hold it. Value comes from what you bring to the table: your growth, your confidence, your discipline, your focus, and the way you carry yourself. When you're constantly improving, when you're building your mind, your health, your skills, and your life, you radiate value. Others can sense when you're not stagnant, when you're leveling up, and that makes your presence meaningful. People are drawn to what adds value to their lives, and when you embody that, you no longer need to chase. It comes to you naturally. The real beauty of combining mystery and value is the balance it creates. You're not trying to prove yourself or beg for attention. Instead, you're letting your growth speak for itself while leaving enough unspoken to spark curiosity. This balance makes you unforgettable. You don't have to announce your worth because it's evident in how you carry yourself. You don't have to explain your silence because it creates its own questions. And when people wonder about you, they place you in a position of significance in their minds without you having to force it. The key to this dynamic is consistency. Mystery cannot exist if you're constantly breaking your silence, explaining your every move, or trying to reassure others. Value cannot exist if you're neglecting your growth or living without purpose. Together, they require discipline. You must hold your ground, stay focused on your own journey, and allow space for others to notice what you bring without you pushing it on them. Over time, this creates an aura around you, one that is magnetic, powerful, and unforgettable. And when you master the art of creating both mystery and value, you'll find that you no longer need to chase attention because attention naturally finds its way to you. The moment you break no contact first, you hand over your power. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is a position of strength. It shows restraint, discipline, and self-control. Whoever breaks first communicates impatience, weakness, and the inability to sit with discomfort. And that shift changes everything because the one who reaches out first immediately reveals who values the connection more. In that moment, the balance of energy tilts and it's no longer equal. Not breaking first is about much more than pride. It's about proving to yourself that you can handle silence without needing to chase reassurance. Every day you resist the urge to call, text, or check in, you build emotional strength. You learn that you don't need constant validation to survive. You begin to recognize that your peace is worth more than forcing someone's attention. This discipline may feel difficult at first, but it's what ultimately elevates your self-respect. Breaking no contact first often comes from fear, the fear of being forgotten, replaced, or losing control. But what's ironic is that breaking silence out of fear only proves that you are controlled by your emotions. True strength is the opposite. It's the ability to stay calm even when your mind is racing with doubts. It's being able to say, even if I don't hear from them, I won't compromise my boundaries. That steadiness communicates value in a way no words ever can. The power of not breaking first also lies in the mystery it creates. When you hold your silence, the other person begins to question your thoughts, your feelings, and your life. They start to wonder why you're not reaching out, what you're doing, and whether you've moved on. That curiosity grows stronger with time, but only if you don't interrupt it. The moment you give in and break silence, that mystery disappears. They no longer have to wonder because you've made yourself predictable again. Patience is key here. There will be moments when your emotions feel overwhelming and you're tempted to give in. But it's in those moments that strength is forged. Every time you choose silence over impulse, you prove to yourself that you are in control. You're not being passive. You're being intentional. You're choosing to protect your energy rather than spend it on someone who hasn't earned it. Not breaking first doesn't mean playing games or trying to manipulate. It means valuing yourself enough to let others show you where they stand. If someone truly wants you in their life, they will reach out. If they don't, then their silence speaks volumes. Either way, you win because you held your ground and refused to betray your own boundaries. The one who breaks first may feel temporary relief, but the one who holds silence walks away with strength, dignity, and self-control. That is what makes not breaking first one of the clearest demonstrations of power you can show. Pain is inevitable, but what you choose to do with it determines whether it destroys you or transforms you. Most people allow pain to break them. They sink into despair, cling to what they've lost, or let bitterness consume them. But pain can also become the fuel that builds you into someone stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than before. The secret lies in turning that pain into purpose. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You start asking, what can I do with what I've learned? That shift changes everything. Pain is powerful because it awakens you. It forces you to confront truths you might have ignored and exposes areas of weakness you need to strengthen. The discomfort pushes you to grow in ways comfort never could, but only if you channel it correctly. When you direct that pain towards self-growth, discipline, and resilience, it stops being a burden and becomes a weapon. Every sleepless night, every moment of heartache, every wave of disappointment can either break you or be transformed into motivation that drives you forward. Purpose is born when you take control of your story. You refuse to let your suffering define you as a victim and instead let it shape you into a warrior. That doesn't mean you deny the hurt or pretend it doesn't exist. It means you use it as a teacher. Pain teaches you what you will no longer tolerate, what truly matters to you, and how strong you can become when you have no choice but to endure. It gives you perspective that comfort could never provide. Channeling pain into purpose also gives meaning to your struggle. Instead of seeing it as wasted time or unnecessary suffering, you view it as the very thing that shaped you into who you are becoming. The heartbreak that once felt unbearable becomes the reason you developed discipline. The rejection that once crushed you becomes the reason you raised your standards. The silence that once tormented you becomes the reason you found your voice. Every painful chapter, when reframed, becomes a stepping stone toward a stronger, more defined version of yourself. The beauty of turning pain into purpose is that it not only transforms you, but also impacts those around you. When people see how you've risen from difficulty without bitterness, how you've grown instead of shrinking, how you've used your pain as a foundation rather than a prison, you inspire them to do the same. You become living proof that suffering can lead to strength and that nothing has the power to break you unless you allow it. Pain is raw energy. Left unchecked, it consumes you. But when harnessed, it becomes the driving force behind your evolution. It pushes you to create, to grow, to achieve, and to live with more depth and purpose than before. When you decide that your pain will not be wasted, you stop seeing it as the end of something and start seeing it as the beginning of a powerful transformation. That is how pain becomes your greatest weapon and your clearest path to purpose. When silence meets silence, when emotions rise and fear tempts you to break, remember this: the real battle is not with her, it's with yourself. No contact is not about winning a game. It's about mastering your emotions, protecting your energy, and proving to yourself that you are stronger than desperation. Obsession fades when you redirect focus to your own growth. Your silence creates mystery, your patience builds strength, and your discipline preserves value. Pain stops being punishment the moment you turn it into purpose. In the end, this journey isn't about waiting for someone to come back. It's about becoming someone so powerful, grounded, and complete that whether they return or not, you remain unshaken. That is where your true victory lies.